लड़नी सवारी कितनी चाहिए
June 12th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. The summer heat over Ahmedabad is unforgiving. On the tarmac, a technological masterpiece is preparing for a long journey to the west. This is Air India Flight 171, a direct service to London Gatwick. The aircraft is a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, registration VT-ANB. It is 11 years old, a veteran of the skies, powered by two massive General Electric GNX engines. Inside the cabin, 230 passengers are settling in. There are families returning to the UK, students embarking on new semesters, and tourists escaping the heat. Among them, in business class, sits Vijay Rupani, the former Chief Minister of Gujarat. In seat 11A, near the emergency exit, sits Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, a 40-year-old British citizen traveling with his brother. They fasten their seatbelts expecting a routine 8-hour flight. None of them know that they have less than 60 seconds left to live. In the cockpit, Captain Sumit Sabharwal and First Officer Clive Kundar are running the final checks. The Dreamliner is designed to be the smartest plane in history. Its millions of lines of code monitor every valve, every sensor, and every movement. It is designed to protect the pilots from errors. But today, that protection will turn into a prison. Air India 171, runway 23 cleared for takeoff. At 1:38 p.m., the thrust levers are pushed forward. The GNX engines roar to life, generating 60,000 pounds of thrust each. The aircraft accelerates. V1, rotate. At 1:39 p.m., the wheels leave the hot asphalt. The climb is steady, the weather is stable, the visibility is clear, the landing gear is still down, the flaps are set to takeoff position to generate critical lift. The aircraft passes 200 feet, then 400 feet, reaching a peak of 625 feet. Everything is perfect. And then, at exactly 13:39 and 30 seconds, the machine betrays its masters. Without a single command from the pilots, and without a warning chime, a silent signal is sent from the flight computer to the wing actuators. Look closely at the trailing edge of the wing. These are the flaps. During takeoff, they must be extended to increase the surface area of the wing, allowing the massive 200-ton metal bird to fly at slower speeds. But now, at just 30 seconds into the flight, they begin to retract. They slide back into the wing body, streamlining the aircraft for high-speed cruise, while it is still slow and low. This is an aerodynamic catastrophe. By retracting the flaps, the computer effectively shrank the wings. The smooth airflow required to keep the plane in the sky is instantly severed. The lift evaporates. The aircraft enters a stall. But this isn't a normal stall. The engines are still screaming at full takeoff power. The nose is pitched up. To the pilots, it feels like the hand of God is pushing the plane down. Inside the cockpit, the stick shaker activates. The control columns vibrate violently, a mechanical rattlesnake warning of death. Mayday, mayday! Captain Sabharwal fights the yoke. He pulls back, trying to trade speed for altitude. But the wing has changed shape. It can no longer fly at this speed. The ADS-B data shows the terrifying truth. From 625 feet, the aircraft begins to sink. It levels off at just 230 feet, barely higher than the apartment buildings below. It is no longer flying. It is falling forward with momentum. In the Magani Nagar neighborhood, residents look up in terror. They see the belly of the beast. The landing gear is still down, ready to crush anything in its path. Directly ahead lies the BJ, Medical College campus. Inside the student hostel and dining hall, roughly 80 medical students are having their lunch break. They hear a roar that shakes the tables. They have zero warning. 1:39 p.m. and 50 seconds. Air India Flight 171 slams into the hostel building. Because the plane had just taken off for London, it was fully loaded with tens of thousands of gallons of Jet A fuel. The impact is not just a crash, it is a bomb. The fuel tanks in the wings rupture instantly. The kinetic energy atomizes the fuel and the hot engines ignite it. A massive fireball engulfs the college campus. The shockwave shatters windows for blocks. The fuselage of the Dreamliner disintegrates under the force. The tail section, the vertical stabilizer with the registration VT-ANB, shears off. It flies through the air and impales itself into the upper floors of the burning hostel. It stands there, rising out of the flames, a haunting tombstone for the 260 souls lost in the inferno. 241 people on the plane, 19 students and staff on the ground. In the blink of an eye, a peaceful afternoon turns into hell on Earth. Amidst the fire and twisted metal, statistics say survival is impossible. But fate is strange. In seat 11A, Vishwas Kumar Ramesh is strapped in. As the plane impacts the building, the fuselage fractures violently. The structural integrity fails exactly beneath row 11. The floor gives way. While the rest of the cabin is propelled forward into the fireball, Vishwas's seat drops. He falls through the gap in the fuselage. He falls down through the shattered ceiling of the hostel. He lands on the ground floor amidst debris and dust, but miraculously away from the main concentration of the fire. Dazed, disoriented, burns on his left hand, but alive. He unbuckles his seatbelt. The only sound he hears is the roaring of the fire above him. He crawls out of the ruins of the building, the only survivor of Flight 171. His brother, sitting just a few feet away, was claimed by the fire. Vishwas walked out of the apocalypse, a solitary witness to the destruction of the automation age. The fires are extinguished, the bodies are recovered. Now, the questions begin. Why did a brand new plane retract its wings 30 seconds after takeoff? Investigators from India, the UK, and the American NTSB converge on the data. They focus on the flight control computer. The Boeing 787 has a safety feature called automatic flap load relief. It is designed to protect the flaps from breaking if the pilot accidentally flies too fast with them extended. Here lies the tragic glitch. Investigators discovered that one of the air data sensors sent a momentary spike of erroneous data. For a split second, it told the computer that the airspeed was dangerously high. It was a lie. The plane was actually slow, but the computer believed the sensor over the reality. Following its programming logic, it triggered the load relief protocol. It commanded the flaps to retract to save them from the imaginary speed. The pilots never touched the flap lever. They were fighting a ghost. By the time they realized what was happening, the plane was too low to recover. The automation, designed to save the aircraft from structural damage, prioritized the metal over the lives inside. It is a system logic failure of the highest order. The ripples of the Ahmedabad disaster were felt instantly around the globe. For the first time in history, the entire global fleet of Boeing 787 Dreamliners was grounded within hours. From Tokyo to London, thousands of passengers were stranded as aviation authorities scrambled to inspect the flap control logic of every single aircraft. Boeing's stock plummeted 20% overnight. The promise of the Dreamliner had turned into a nightmare, but for the people of Gujarat, the loss was far more personal. The state declared 3 days of mourning. Among the victims was Vijay Rupani, a man who had once led the state as chief minister. His death, alongside ordinary families and students, highlighted the terrifying equality of a plane crash. Inside the metal tube, power and status mean nothing. Physics does not discriminate. The tragedy at BJ Medical College is particularly cruel. This was a place of healing, a place where young minds were learning to save lives. Instead, 19 of them were lost in a senseless rain of fire. The survivors speak of a deafening silence immediately after the impact, followed by the screams of sirens that would haunt the city for weeks. For Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, the sole survivor from seat 11A, survival is a heavy burden. Doctors report that he is physically stable, but psychologically shattered. He fell from the sky and lived, while his brother, sitting just inches away, did not. This is survivor's guilt, a psychological scar often deeper than any burn. He is the living proof of the randomness of fate. Why did the floor break there? Why did the fire stop there? There are no answers. Only the haunting image of a tail fin rising from the ashes, reminding us that our mastery over the skies is fragile. As the investigation concludes, the aviation industry faces a reckoning. Pilots are demanding a kill switch, a hardwired physical override that allows them to disable automation instantly. They want the ability to say no to the computer. Until that happens, every time we board a modern airliner, we are placing our trust in millions of lines of code written by people we will never meet. Air India Flight 171 will be remembered not just for the lives lost, but as the turning point in the war between man and machine. It is the day we learned that sometimes the smartest plane is the one that listens to its pilot. As we look at the wreckage, we must ask ourselves, in the war between human judgment and artificial intelligence, are we surrendering too much control? Sometimes the safest hands are human hands. Fly safe, watch your sensors, and respect the physics. For the Air Debrief, I'm your host. See you in the next investigation.